from the chair. From the chair. From the chair.
Welcome back to A View from the Chair. I am your host, Patrice Jordan Robinson, Chair of your Memphis City Council and City Council District 3 representative. Know that your Memphis City Council is working diligently along with the Mayor's office to ensure the safety and security of all of our citizens and visitors alike, even in trying times like these. Safer at home is still the best policy. As part of those efforts, we've invited Chief Administrative Officer Doug McGowan and Chief Financial Officer Shirley Ford to A View from the Chair today to talk about our city's budget challenges and opportunities going into 2021. So don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.
A View from the Chair. From the chair. From the chair. On the Kadzukian Network.
Our experience with Kadzukian has been amazing. They are creative, innovative, flexible, work really hard, and they find the answer to every problem we put in front of them, every challenge we offer. We couldn't have better partners than Kadzukian.
As promised, we're back with Chief Financial Officer Shirley Ford and Chief Administrative Officer Doug McGowan with the City of Memphis. Welcome to A View from the Chair.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
So today I am so excited to have you both here, but we're going to spend a little more time with Chief Financial Officer Shirley Ford and Chief McGowan. We're going to ask our questions of you because I know that you've got to move on to another very important issue and press conference. So we're going to ask your questions up front, and then Chief Ford, we're going to spend the rest of the time together. So Chief McGowan, the citizens voted in the last election to increase the sales tax to provide for enhanced benefits for police and fire. Has the mayor projected a beginning date for that implementation?
We absolutely have our projected effective date for all of those new benefits. And what we're doing is we are putting some of the firefighters and police officers who were affected back between 2009 and 2016. We are reinstating them to the old pension plan that we had, and we're changing the medical benefits for police and fire. Those will become effective on the 1st of January of 2021. Between the time of the referendum and when we implement this, we have to go through several steps. And that includes getting approval from the state with our process. And so we are well underway with that. I'm very pleased to report that we've had great cooperation, collaboration, and teamwork with the fire and police associations. We are all of one accord in the way that we want to move forward on this. And now it's just a function of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and coming to you, Councilwoman, to get our plan approved and implemented so that we can get those underway on the 1st of January 2021.
So may I ask one additional question? So citizens also want to know, how does it impact them for years to come? Is this enough money to do what they need over their lifetime for those police officers and firemen?
Well, we understand that is a concern. So the good news is that the referendum, which increased the local option sales tax, for the foreseeable future is enough to cover the cost of the health care and pension. There will be some available monies in the near term in excess of that, but the plan we're putting into place means that the cost of these benefits can never exceed the revenues that are available. So in other words, the plan that we are putting forward to the state and that the state has asked us to approve locally means that we will put individuals back into the pension plan. We will restore the health care benefits to a level that they were in 2014. But the costs of those benefits can never exceed the money that comes from that additional 0.5% sales tax. So the citizens are protected. They will see no change in the service of city government, no change in our budget line. We have a dedicated revenue stream for this. And so they really should see no fundamental change. They are protected by law on these new entitlements that are going back into place.
Okay. So, Chief, before you have to leave us today, let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you just share with us where we are today and what citizens need to still be doing as it relates to the pandemic?
Well, the first thing that we encourage everybody is to comply with the safer at home order, and that applies to everyone. First, if you're going to leave your house and go out, we ask that you cover your face. If you don't have a surgical mask, then we ask that you use a cloth mask, a bandana, or even a dust mask that you might be able to see from a local hardware store. Cover your face. Why do we say that? We understand that everybody will follow the social distancing model, but you can't control what other people are going to do. So it's better safe than sorry. So cover your face when you leave your house and while you're at your place of work. We're seeing significant transmission at the place of work. So if you are essential and have to go to work, please cover your face. The other thing is to avoid large gatherings. I know it's very tempting and it's very hard when young children want a birthday party, people want to go to their place of worship, but we just simply cannot allow large gatherings. That is where transmission is happening. So please, if everybody can avoid that, that will be the biggest thing that individuals can do. The last thing, and I really want to emphasize this, if you are feeling ill or if you've been around someone and in close contact with somebody that's ill, you need to stay home and isolate yourself. If you've been tested for the virus, you need to stay home until you get the results of that test saying that you are all clear. We've had instances of individuals who are sick and they know they think they need to go to work and they're infecting people around them. So if you are feeling ill, stay home.
Thank you, Chief McGowan. Last question, and we're going to let you go. So, Chief McGowan, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, I know there was talk of, and people were rumbling in the community that we may have a property tax increase on the agenda for 2021?
Well, I think that's always a concern that citizens have. We've done, I think, incredible work in the City of Memphis. We have not had a property tax increase in more than 10 years. The administration is not proposing a property tax increase at this point. I think it's too early and premature to begin suggesting that there might be one. We have some federal stimulus money coming in, and we do not know exactly how much that will be. We also have in the City of Memphis a rainy day fund that people have heard about, and this is the epitome of a rainy day. This is why you have reserves in your city, so that you have an ability to absorb a shock to your revenue stream. I think it's premature to begin discussing that in response simply to the COVID pandemic. We have a plan that we will put into place that ensures that we preserve those critical kinds of services that we have. But as more information comes in from the federal government about what the assistance from the federal government might look like, I think that will tamp down that discussion, but I will be sure to let you know if we believe that is necessary. It will be only after very careful contemplation.
Thank you. Well, Chief, we're going to let you go. Let me say thank you, Chief Doug McGowan, for being a part of this show and sharing information to all that are during this unprecedented time. And we encourage you, and we're ensuring the citizens of Memphis that we're going to operate and do this thing together. So now we're going to move to Chief Ford. Have safe travel, Chief McGowan. Until next time.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Everybody stay safer at home.
Thank you. So, Chief Ford, I can almost guarantee it. You're going to have sleepless nights concerning this 2021 budget outlook. Did I guess right?
Oh, Councilwoman Robinson, you could not be more accurate on that aspect. Attempting to pin down a budget with so many significant unknowns and a range of possible outcomes is extremely challenging. As we watch around us locally, the hospitality sector, that is almost practically collapsing. We anticipate unemployment to be on the rise, and we expect to be operating in a resource-deprived environment. So all of those things, yes, not only cause me sleepless nights, but great concern. And I just want to give the citizens and our council comfort that we are working through this. We are being very diligent on our analytics about trying to tear through each line of an upcoming budget to make sure that we are doing the absolute best that we possibly can.
So, Chief Ford, oftentimes we've had major challenges with additional dollars for police and fire, but the COVID-19 has presented many more questions and not a lot of answers. Is that correct?
There's a lot of uncertainty out there. There is a lot of questions out there, and how best to approach this. And obviously, with our first responders, we're trying to ensure that we are not only maintaining their core services, but that we are being responsive to the additional needs that are arising related to the pandemic and how they approach that, how we approach our citizens, how we approach our other businesses, and even how we approach ourselves internally in City Hall.
So, Chief Ford, with the proposed implementation of the benefit enhancements that I just talked to Chief McGowan about, what will we have to give up as citizens? And is this an unintended consequence of a good idea, and that's for that increased sales tax?
Well, I will say this. I do not think that the citizens will have to give up anything. As Chief McGowan said, this is a very dedicated resource stream, and it can only be used in response to this public safety referendum that was passed last year. So in terms of giving up anything, that's not going to happen because this has the parameters built around it. The challenging piece of this, as it moves into action and as we have progressed through this, and as you know, we've worked with City Council to keep you updated on where we are and where we think this is going to go, will just be the impact to the sales tax. I mean, obviously, a reduction in the sales tax revenue will have an impact on this plan. But as Chief McGowan said earlier, in our first years, we expect to see excess revenues or remaining proceeds after they have been applied to those directives, and we are in hopes that this will quickly pass and the impact to those revenue sources will start to abate in the very near future.
So, Chief Ford, do you forecast our revenue projections locally? Can you just kind of give us an idea? Is it going to be about a 10% reduction, 15, 20? So we can just kind of get our minds wrapped around we're going to have to give up some things?
For my part, when we look at this, we start by reviewing every single line of the revenue budget of the general fund. And then what I do before I hand this off to Chief McGowan and to the mayor for our collaborative review is just applying a consistent and conservative analytics to the line items, especially for those with the most potential economic impact caused by this pandemic. Now, this climate combined with the legal mandates to maintain a balanced city budget will make maintaining certain critical levels of city services and programs extremely challenging. We are still in the process of reviewing what we think that's going to look like for FY21 for our budget, but our goal is to bring the best information that we can so that when you and the other city council members vote on the upcoming budget, you will vote with the best information that we possibly have, and that you will know that you are contributing and that you own a piece of this very historic time for our city. So it is challenging, but I think as we continue just to apply the analytics and we be responsive to the changing environment every day, that we can work through this together.
Thank you. Well, let's put a pin right here, and we'll be back with more from A View from the Chair after the break.
Jazz, America's own original musical art form. When did it start? Who were and are some of the major players? How do you distinguish what kind of jazz you're listening to? We talk about the great and lesser-known artists songs and tunes, the instruments, and the social impact jazz has had on world culture since its beginning at the start of the 20th century.
Riffin' on jazz on the Kazookian Network. Kazookian!
And we're back with my guest, Chief Financial Officer Shirley Ford, on A View from the Chair. Chief Ford, let's talk a little bit about the Hall tax and the reduction and where we are and the full brunt of that legislation for our 2020 fiscal year.
Thank you, Chairwoman Robinson. And yes, you are absolutely correct. The state income tax, or as we call it, the Hall income tax, will be totally phased out in the calendar year 2021. So for the City of Memphis, for us, as we apply this to our budget, we will only recognize a half-year convention for fiscal year 2021. So we'll only be getting the July through December of the calendar year 20 that will apply. And many of the tax deadlines have been extended, so we may not know the impact of what that really looks like until after the close of the fiscal year 2020 in June of this year. But yes, that was at one time a very large contributor to the operating revenues of the City of Memphis. At its high point, it contributed approximately $16 million. We anticipate as we move into the FY21 budget, we'll be budgeting for approximately $2.5 million.
Oh, wow. So we're cutting out 16 already.
We are already on the decline. As you know, this has been in a phase out over the last 4 years. So we have slowly started phasing out and reducing our budgeting for that revenue. That FY21 will see the finality of the State Hall income tax. So our hope is that our state will continue to work with us to develop other ways where we can grow other revenue streams. A couple of years ago, they implemented the Improve Act, but that has not gotten anywhere near the high point that we had from the State Hall income tax. So we just have to continue to look at ways that we can operate with less revenue.
Thank you. So the citizens and I know that it's important that businesses have an opportunity to come to Memphis and take advantage of pallets. Do we have any pallets that are coming offline and back into the full tax base in our 2021 fiscal year?
We do have a schedule of pilots that are scheduled to roll off in 20 and 21 and 22. And as you recall, last year we passed the pre-kindergarten referendum, and part of that funding is based on the pilots that are rolling off as we go. I do not have the numbers with me currently, Madam Chair, but we do know that we have some of them that are rolling, and I want to say that FY21 is about $2 million that will be rolling off. It may be more than that, but because I don't have it right in front of me, but we just kind of look for that, for those pieces as they roll. And, we work very closely with EDGE, the Economic Development Growth Engine, to look at where those are. I mean, we don't control them, so if there is an extension, it's very important that EDGE notifies us immediately.
Thank you. So how do you think the pandemic will impact our other resources or sources of revenue, for example, our hotel, motel tax, and et cetera?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we're definitely going to see a dramatic impact on our tourism and obviously our areas that are surrounded by the hotel motel taxes, for our economy related to the tourism and all of those associated sales that go along with that. So that is going to be a huge impact for us. There are also in our other special revenue taxes some other lines that will be affected. but specifically for the hotel motel, the tourism development zone revenues, that's going to be huge. In our other general operating, obviously we've talked about sales tax. We are also expecting a slight decrease in property tax revenues for FY21 based on what's going on.
Property tax?
A decrease in property tax revenues. Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
We think as people are going to be more challenged, as we see unemployment on the rise, that we do anticipate we might see some decreases there, although not anywhere near as impactful as it will be for some of the other revenue streams. Sales tax specifically, as a sales tax is approximately 23% of our general fund operating revenues. The tourism development zone revenues, gross business tax receipts, mixed drink tax, the alcohol beverage inspection fees, state shared beer tax, and liquor by the ounce. Those are just some of them that we are looking at having an impact on our revenue projections for FY21.
So what is our general fund operating budget, the total?
The total for FY20 was $710 million, and I'm just rounding that up. It was $710,388,000. So we are looking at a pretty dramatic decrease, even just in FY20 as we forecasted out where we would land in FY20 a month ago compared to where we're looking at now. A month ago, I would have told you that we were going to land pretty much right on budget. But as you know, even at our last council meeting, we came to our council to ask for some flexibility in spending some money that would be specifically related to COVID-19 expenses. Even with getting reimbursed eventually from some of these expenses, it is an upfront cost for us. So as our teams are working together and our colleagues and the hospitals and the other municipalities that Chief McGowan mentioned earlier that are participating on our daily task force calls, we're all kind of scrambling for some of the same resources. And those are resources that we will, that we have to pay for up front. So we're just trying to be very fiscally responsible about what we have to do, but we do anticipate some increases in expenditures and decreases in revenues. And as you know, that is a recipe for a very difficult budget.
Yes, it is. At home, at work, or anywhere.
Yes, ma'am. It's not just us, but our citizens too. Yes, ma'am.
So that takes me to my next question. Our citizens, they have so many unanswered questions. We don't know where we're going to be 3 months from now. And they're concerned about their jobs, their children's education. As our Chief Financial Officer, just give the audience just an idea, the citizens of Memphis. I know this is a storm for you, but what is on your wish list?
Oh, wow. My wish list is that we would reach our peak this week and we'd see a decline next week. Now, that's of course, that's a little far-fetched, but I do, as we are working through this, this environment is just something that we've never been faced with before. And, I know people have compared it to other recessions and other things, but the difference in this is that we actually play an active role and an active part in this. If we are doing what we've been asked to do, safer at home, stay in place, limit your exposure to the best of your ability when you have to go out, protect yourself. So we are actually a part of this. So we're kind of all in this together. And I know that it's very difficult, and I know even personally just working from home and trying to ensure that my teams are all in place and everything is exactly as it should be is very challenging and very difficult. And, we want and our hope is that everyone is safe and healthy as we navigate through this unprecedented global pandemic. And I mean, while every day is bringing change, our goal is to try to help our council, our community, our citizens to stay abreast of the latest developments and to try to mitigate any risk that we can during this time of uncertainty. And I know I know this is a difficult thing, but I believe with an awareness of the potential challenges and the development of a plan and putting it in place for managing through them, that we can not only survive this challenging time, but we will be able to thrive in its passing.
Well, Chief Ford, do you have any closing thoughts on our city's future in the midst of COVID-19 and possibly if brighter fiscal days are ahead?
Well, I think that, again, this is a call for action for all of us. I think this administration has certainly enjoyed a wonderful working relationship with our legislative body, and we know that that is in large part due to you and what you bring to the table and the other team members and their understanding. I know that we have a little bit of a challenge this year because we'll be doing things differently. We'll be talking to each other virtually and sending lots of emails. And then we have 6 new council members who have never been through this process with us before. You know, we start to feel like veterans through this process, and this is new to them. So they don't know where we've been before, but what we have to do is take every opportunity that we can to be good sharers of information, to be transparent about what we feel like are our challenges and where we are coming from. And I just think that this is an opportunity for us to grow as a city. I think this is an opportunity for us to grow as colleagues, both within all divisions of our city government and with our other branches. I mean, I've never had the opportunity to spend so much time with my counterparts locally and across the state, and I think this has been an opportunity for us to pave a new way of doing business, because I can tell you this is a process in an environment that is anything but business as usual.
Thank you. So, Chief Shirley Ford, you know we can no longer work in a silo, and that's correct. You've shared with us on today. I want to thank you for being a part of this show and sharing information to all during this unprecedented time, and for ensuring that the City of Memphis will continue to operate in good fiscal health. I'll be right back with some closing thoughts.
R&R on Sports.
Brother Rashad McCants, welcome to R&R on Sports.
Thanks for having me, brother.
It's R&R on Sports.
Safer at home is still the best way to ensure that the coronavirus does not continue to spread throughout our community, and we can get back to business as usual. But to those of you that are not able to stay at home due to your tireless work, thank you. And a special thank you to our City of Memphis employees who are adjusting to this new normal and are still working for you. I am Patrice Jordan Robinson, your host and chairwoman of the Memphis City Council. Until next time.
A view from the chair.
Recorded at Kadzukian Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by Kadzukian.